Hi, everybody. This is Cassie, Elle, and you're watching Crowd Chat with me, Cassie, Elle, and it is Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm just going to make sure that the live feed is coming through on our Facebook page, and then I will introduce our guest, and we can talk about the games that we're going to be talking about today. So if you just give me one more second, I want to make sure this is going. The fun stuff about live. All right, we're good. So I am Cassie L, like I mentioned earlier, and today I have Arthur Franz that will be talking today about two games that he plans on bringing to a crowd sale. One is actually available right now that you can take a look at on the Game Crafter. And the other one, which I'm actually interested in hearing about a little more, is not available yet, but it is a game that was on a contest that I am a judge for. So Arthur, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll start asking you some questions.
Sure. Cassie, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it. I'm Arthur Franz. I'm 1/3 of Uplink Underground Games, and we've published Breakaway Football on the Game Crafter with great success, and we continue to put out expansion content for that. I think we're up to expansion number 6 right now, and with a thriving little community that we're nurturing like a garden. And then the other game that we're going to be coming out with soon is Mardi Gras Madness, and I think that's the one that you wanted to talk more about. So ask away.
Yeah. So, since you brought up Breakaway Football, I'm going to talk about that one first. And I have a few questions about it. I'm actually going to switch over here. So, that's my Facebook. Sorry, everybody. There it is. Switching over here so people can see. The game is Breakaway Football, and it is currently on the Game Crafter. If after this you see it and you're interested in learning about the game, and you want to get a copy for yourself, it's available. So if you want to tell us a little bit about the game, I see it's a 2-player, but it has a solo option, and it's meant to really give you a feel for football without being too intense.
Yeah, it straddles that middle ground. When I was growing up as a teenager, I would play a lot of Stratomatic football, which is a very deep, statistically heavy simulation. And this is much more of a one-time, back in the old days, there was this game called NFL Challenge that would take maybe 30 minutes, and it was very light and had a spinner. This game straddles the middle. It's almost like a combination of chess and poker. And if you know a little bit about football, then it's really easy to play. Very simple ways to resolve plays with single-digit arithmetic. And the most exciting part of it is this breakaway mechanism, which creates big plays. So super fun and very colorful, and each team is different. That's what people really like about it, is that the teams are different. So there's 18 teams right now, and they all play differently.
Is that including the expansion ones? Because I thought in the base game it only had, I think, 4. I think I saw.
Yeah, there's 4.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 4. There's a run heavy, a pass heavy, and 2 balanced teams in the core box. And then if you want to go for the expansions, you can start to get iconic single season franchises from the NFL. Now, we don't use the NFL names because we don't want to infringe on their trademarks and copyrights, but we point out in the strategy guide that comes free with the game, and anybody who wants to grab the strategy guide can actually go out to the Game Crafter and download it for free. It's about 28 or 30 pages at this point, but it outlines each team that's available, the actual historical team that inspired it, and what their special mechanisms are, because each team has a fundamental way that it breaks the rules and a way that it wants to be played. And that's what makes the game really replayable, is that each team wants to be played a certain way, and the different matchups are really compelling. And now that we've got 18 teams, soon to be 20, there's another expansion coming out next month. Oh yeah, I'm so excited. It's the Vaqueros. It's the Vaqueros and the Bobcats. It's based on the Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, fun.
So we just try to keep the names as close to the real ones so that they're easily recognizable, but not close enough that it's a problem legally.
Right. So if you weren't into football or you didn't know about the rules of football, is this a game that we would still be able to pick up and play easily, or is this more for gamers who are into football?
I think, gamers who are into football are probably going to get a lot out of it, especially recognizing those core teams that they're based on. But I think anybody who likes chess and poker would get a lot out of the game as well. Okay. Resolving the individual plays is really easy. Yeah.
Does it have a good abstract kind of feeling to it with the way that the game plays?
Absolutely. Well, we took some liberties with real football to make it a better board game.
Okay.
And so we actually do yardage in 5 yard increments. That's one of the ways we wanted to pace it up, because to play Stratomatic would take about 3+ hours.
Yeah.
And I don't have that kind of time anymore. So the game plays in 90 minutes head up, 60 minutes or under at the solo level. And it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. I'm going to just switch over here real quick to show, that's you. There it is, to show this a little more so everyone can see. There's a video here with the unboxing on this page. If you go to the Game Crafter and you look up Breakaway Football, there's the unboxing video. Down here you can see another video that shows off some of the components. And here's those downloads, that you were mentioning. The strategy guide is right there. Lots of components, it looks like.
Yeah, it's chock full of stuff. The most important part of the game is probably the game day deck, which is almost like a deck of dice. It's the randomizer. And so we don't have individual players. Again, we took liberties with the real game to kind of compress it and make it more manageable. So you're not managing a roster or a depth chart or doing substitutions or any of the things that you would traditionally do in football. You're just calling X's and O's plays that have single-digit values. And what you're trying to do is just outwit your opponent, try to call that perfect play against what they're doing and get that big play. And because it plays in such a small time frame, we've had people play multiple games back to back. So it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. That's awesome. Because I'm not really into football too much, so I was looking through and I was thinking, is this going to be something that I would enjoy? But then I saw there was a little bit of math and there's a little bit of, like you said, like kind of like a puzzle strategy. And I love abstract, so I was like, oh, maybe this is something that I would actually enjoy and appreciate. Like I said, I'm big into football, but I think that's like a problem a lot of gamers have, is they either like games or they like sports, and finding the middle ground is a tough one. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You know, what makes football so complex is the nuance and the sophistication of different offensive philosophies. What we've done is distill that into cards that you can just play for the value and the type of play. So there's 10 types of plays, and it's clearly on the card. But like, for example, if you called an outside run and your opponent had a tight run defense, that would create a breakaway. So thematically, it makes a lot of sense. You don't have to know whether there's stunting or what gap they're hitting. None of that is in there. It's really just, what type of play am I calling? What type of play did my opponent call? How does that resolve? And it resolves very quickly.
That's cool.
It's super fun.
Yeah, and like it sounds. I know that there's, in the essence of football, because it is a game. It's not just a sport, but it's also a game. There's a lot more going on to it, and maybe that's why I'm like, I don't know what's happening, so I'm going to just set this aside. But, all right. Well, if anyone is interested, again, Breakaway Football is on the Game Crafter right now. You can take a look and find it. And I believe there's going to be a crowd sale for it somewhere down the line. Do you have a time frame when you're thinking about bringing it to crowd sale?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been cultivating an audience, and we've received word from that audience that they're very interested in doing a crowd sale, because we've had people tell us, look, we'd buy this game if it were at a lower price point. Where it is right now, it's really a tough sell. But if you could get it down to $35, $40, we'd be in. And so we're looking at doing it in middle August. Would be our ideal time frame. The reason for that is that it's during preseason for football, and it would allow the Game Crafter enough time to produce the copies and get them out early in the NFL season. So that's the goal.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we talked about Breakaway Football, and now it doesn't have a page on here, but I'm going to see, we can go to the back at the contest entry. Let's see here. For Mardi Gras Madness. I'm going to just see if it...
I may have turned it off from the public. It's still there, but I meant...
You did.
No, it's okay. Turn it on?
I'm gonna just, if it's not there, then we can just... Okay. Let's see. Where are all these entries? They're always at the bottom, but now they're... Oh, there they go.
In the box.
Mardi Gras, that's not the one. Looking for it. There it is. Let me see if we can click on it. Yeah, we can still see some things. But we can't buy it. But we can still take a look at it.
No. Yeah, it is still there. We're really excited about this. Breakaway Football is a labor of love for me, and we know that the target audience for that is small. There's a narrow, intersection in that Venn diagram where you have football enthusiasts and board gamers. So we recognize that that's a small audience. But this Mardi Gras Madness has a much larger potential target audience, and that's where we're really excited to bring that to a crowd sale and get a larger larger boom, as it were. We're all from New
Okay.
Orleans, so I'm based in New Orleans. Yeah. And so the reason we chose Mardi Gras is that it's very familiar to us. Since we all grew up here, we had gone to parades for 30, 40 years and have children and have brought our children to parades. And so this is the type of Mardi Gras experience that is unique to locals. It's not that sort of raucous debauchery that you would see on television on Bourbon Street. And there is not one risque thing in this game. It's all very family friendly because it's the way we experienced Mardi Gras growing up.
Did you come up with the idea to make a Mardi Gras game before the contest, or did the contest inspire you to make a holiday game for Mardi Gras?
Yeah, so we came up with it before the contest, but it was a wonderful synergy of effort because we were already working on something, but the contest gave us a real finish line to shoot for. And we had already done a version of the game and had actually unpubbed it a couple of years ago, gotten some really good feedback on it. But because we're developing so much content for Breakaway Football and we all have wives and children and full-time jobs, life gets in the way. So yeah, the contest was a great opportunity to focus that creative effort and try to get it over the finish line.
So you have plans to, I know you've made some changes since the contest. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the changes that you've made from then to now?
Absolutely, yeah. So for the contest, we didn't have enough time to really finish. We got the components correct, but we didn't finish the rule book the way that I wanted to. So the rules were correct and accurate, but they were all text, and it's hard to follow if you don't have some kind of visual. But the best thing we found was in writing down the rules, it sort of teases out that unnecessary complexity. And it was really easy to spot areas where we didn't need the rules grit from older versions of the game, and we started to call, and much to the chagrin of my co-designers, I think I do this probably a little more than they would like, but I'm like, why is this rule like this? And I sort of rehash everything again, but it did give us an opportunity to kind of lean out some of the unnecessary complexity. And also, in getting more test play after the contest, we found there are these cards called Throw Me Something cards, and it's ways that you can break the rules. And everybody starts with one, but if you go after a throw and you don't get it, somebody else gets it and you don't, your consolation prize is you get this Throw Me Something card, which lets you break the rules in the next round. And that is where the game really sings. It's a lot of fun. But there's 3 different kinds of cards, and we have them broken down into purple, green, and gold, and they do different things. On the table, there wasn't enough color on those cards to really distinguish purple, green, and gold. Like, it was just a little bit of font. It was just a hint of color, and it wasn't enough. So we went back to the drawing board and actually put really thick, bold borders all the way around those cards with specific text at the bottom middle that said when and how the card gets used, and that helped clear up a lot of confusion. So we think that's bad. The other thing is we added new components. We added player aids, and we knew we needed those, but we didn't know exactly what they would look like. So we just had 6 more jumbo cards go into the box, and those have on one side the rules of play, the order of play, and on the other side it's the special scoring, so that people can have top of mind how the set collection aspect of it helps them boost their final score, and people found that to be really helpful too.
I love player aids. I wish all games had player aids, and it's always kind of disappointing when a game shows up and it doesn't, and I'm like, man, I got to keep checking the rules.
Exactly. When you have to open the rule book, there's only one rule book, and if you've got 6 players, then it's almost an unfair advantage the person who keeps the rule book. So yeah, and the player aids are actually color coded because it's it's 2 to 6 players, and so you have 6 different pairs of colored dice: green, purple, gold, white, black, and blue. And so each player aid is colored to theme with your dice, and that way it's easy to keep track.
So actually, it's funny because I was going to ask, is how many player counts is it? So you said 2 to 6. So is there a lot of there's a lot of cards and a lot of dice then?
Yeah. So the throw cards are what come out from the floats. So there's 6 jumbo cards that are the float positions, and we have a local artist here in the New Orleans area who's been the Jefferson Parish Artist of the Year several times over. His name's Terry Marks. So he did the float artwork for us. It's very authentic New Orleans, and it looks fantastic. And each of those is labeled 1 through 6 with a die face, and you use your dice. You don't roll your dice initially. You actually use your dice sort of in secret behind your hand to assert which float positions you're going to go after. So there's 90. So there's 90 throw cards, and you'll put them out two at a time on each position. And so there's 12 in play pretty much for every round. And you'll decide in secret which ones you want to go after. And there are beads, cups, doubloons, special throws like spears,
Cool.
glasses, and whatnot. So it's a lot of fun. But what you go after, you assert your dice, but then after you've made that sort of dice selection, that's when those special cards come out and can mess with the game state and maybe mess up your plans that you had so intricately put together. So that's where the fun comes in with the game.
So I saw with Breakaway Football, you have a solo version. Are you planning to make a solo variant or version for Mardi Gras Madness?
Yeah, we have a low player count variant, which really just means you have fewer float positions, and it's to encourage the right amount of conflict among the players. We found that if we have too few players and too many float positions, then it's really just sort of collecting cards, and there's not a lot of conflict, and it's not as much fun. So we've fixed that. Again, that's another change that came after the holiday contest through play. But yeah, I actually have had requests for solo version of the game, and so I'm probably going to put one together.
That's pretty neat. Yeah, I think because I was keeping track of all these games that I've seen that are coming out with solo versions, and I was like, this looks like a game that I would probably have fun playing even just by myself. But some games just you can't really get that working. Yeah. So I had to ask because I was curious.
The challenge with any solo design is you don't necessarily want to make it beat your own high score. I've seen a lot of dissatisfied points of view around that. So if there's a way to have objectives, like, okay, this is the card combination you're trying to collect, I think that would inject the right amount of stress and challenge into it, because you could tweak the difficulty by having different combinations of cards. Here's an easy set. You need to collect 12 green beads. Okay, that's probably pretty easy. But if you need to put together this more specific set of cards, that might be more complex, and then you'd have to really use your wits to get that done. So that's going to require a lot of test play. I don't know that we'll be ready for that by November. And by the way, we're looking to do a crowd sale in November.
Next question, actually. No,
sorry to jump the gun. Yeah.
Well, that was pretty much all the questions that I had. If anyone is curious to learn about, they know where they can find about Breakaway Football, but if they're curious to learn about Mardi Gras Madness, is there a way that they can contact you to learn more about it? Because right now it's just available. You have to kind of like search for it in the holiday contest to find info.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in sort of tracking our progress through to the crowd sale to go on Facebook and search for Mardi Gras Madness game. And we have a Facebook group there. Also, anyone who wants to reach out to me directly on either of these products can email me at uplinkundergroundgames@cox.net, cox.net. More than happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Arthur. I like I said, I don't know how exciting I am about the football game because football isn't my thing, but I do love abstracts, and so
that's fair.
I actually am interested in giving it a shot because I like seeing the way that different kinds of themes can be applied to different kind of abstract games, so that's very appealing to me. And of course, the holiday game. I just like holiday games, so that was cool. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. And look, if anybody is interested in seeing a demonstration of the solo game of that abstract football game, you can go out to YouTube and just look for Breakaway Football Solo, and there's several demos. Yeah, and you can watch a whole game get played. It takes about 55 minutes. Or you can just watch the sort of 15-minute primer on how to play solo. So there's a lot of content out there. In fact, I'm not the only one developing it. Stephen Tower at After Further Review is doing pretty regular game plays, and those are available on YouTube as well. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show and for providing the information so that everyone who is watching and is curious to learn more can learn more.
Thank you, Cassie. I really appreciate you having me on.
For anybody that is still watching, this is Crowd Chat, and we are talking about Mardi Gras Madness, Breakaway Football. We just had Arthur Franz on the show, and for next week, I am hoping to get someone I don't want to give it away if they can't be on the show, but I'm hoping to have someone that plans on having a crowd sale in the next 2 weeks be on the show so we can learn more about that. And they've had a crowd sale before, so that'll be cool just to see if they've learned anything from the first one and what to expect from the next ones. So that is it for today's show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, Arthur, thank you for being on the show. And I'll see you all next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Crowd Chat with Cassie Elle.